Today's passage is Genesis 41:25-36. Let's read together. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are 7 years. It is one and the same dream. The 7 lean, ugly cows that came up afterward are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They are 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows it will be so severe." The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh to be kept in the cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. Amen. Joseph's interpretation. He is God. Joseph stood before Pharaoh. This was the very place he had longed to be 2 years earlier. At that time, while in prison with the chief cupbearer, Joseph had asked him for a favor. He had asked the cupbearer to speak well of him to Pharaoh, and mention that he had been wrongfully imprisoned. This reveals a part of Joseph that still sought to rely on man. In human eyes it would seem that Pharaoh had the authority to release someone from prison, but in reality that was not the case. As we read this story in Genesis, we see that God made all these decisions and that God himself carried out these events. This weakness still existed within Joseph. While it is an understandable human trait, he was not destined for an ordinary life, but to become Prime Minister of Egypt. To hold such an office, even a small weakness could not be allowed to remain. A small weakness may not be a major problem in an ordinary life, but once power and position are gained, it can become a significant flaw. God wanted to mend this small crack in Joseph's character, and so, 2 years passed. During that time, this weakness in Joseph was healed. When he finally stood before Pharaoh, Joseph no longer revealed this tendency to rely on man. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it." Joseph's response to this question is a pivotal moment in his life. We could call it a kind of job interview. If he passed, Joseph could get out of that wretched prison. In this interview, Pharaoh was essentially asking, "Can you do it? I've heard you have this ability." But to this question, Joseph gives an unexpected answer. He replies, "I cannot do it." However, this surprising answer does not end there. He continues, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." This is the crucial principle in the lives of us who believe. I cannot do it, but our God can. I am unable, but our God is able. This change is important. 2 years earlier, Joseph had tried to rely on Pharaoh's favor. If Joseph had met Pharaoh then, he would not have been able to give such an answer. He had asked the chief cupbearer to be his intermediary because he mistakenly believed that the power to release him from prison lay with Pharaoh, but not anymore. When Joseph finally had the chance to speak before Pharaoh, he did not say a single word about the favor he had asked for 2 years prior. He speaks not about himself, but about whom. He speaks about God. He uses this precious opportunity not for himself, but for God. This is Joseph's growth. I bless you in the name of the Lord that we too may experience such growth. Though he stands before Pharaoh, Joseph is not focused on the king. Living in the world, he is not fixated on its powers or the situations that might cause him pain or lead him astray. He is not preoccupied with influential people. Instead, Joseph is conscious of only one thing: I am standing before God. Those 2 years in prison were a time of such maturation for Joseph, teaching him to rely on God, not Pharaoh, and to prioritize the proclamation of God over his own release. Now, the mature Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream. His interpretation is unhindered. After hearing the account of the dream from Pharaoh, he does not hesitate or ask for a day to think about it. He begins the interpretation immediately. The reason he could do this was not because he was wise or clever. It was because God was with him, even at that very moment, giving him the wisdom to interpret. In this scene, we too must confess, this is the work of God. Joseph's interpretation of Pharaoh's dream has 4 main points. First, the two dreams are one. Although Pharaoh had two dreams, their content is the same. Second, the number 7 signifies 7 years. Third, there will be 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. And finally, the fourth point is that the dream was repeated to show that the matter is certain and will happen soon. This is the content of Joseph's interpretation. God is at the beginning and the end of Joseph's interpretation. Let us first read verse 25 together. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh are one and the same. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do." Amen. Joseph states that the two dreams of the cows and the heads of grain are one, and that God has shown Pharaoh what he will do. At the start of his interpretation, Joseph speaks of God. Through the dream, God reveals his plan in advance, an event that will happen in the world, which is ultimately the work he will accomplish. And God appears again in verse 32. Let us read verse 32 together. The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in two forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God and God will do it soon. Amen. A pair of dreams is a recurring theme in Joseph's story. First, Joseph himself had two dreams, the dream of the sheaves of grain and the dream of the sun, moon, and stars. The two officials imprisoned with him also each had a dream, making a pair. Though the content and outcomes were different, they shared a similar structure. Finally, Pharaoh's dream also comes as a pair. Here a special meaning is added. Like the previous dreams, this pair of dreams signifies certainty. A single dream could be a coincidence, but a repeated dream means the event will surely happen. God wanted to show that just as the dreams Joseph had in his youth came true, so too would Pharaoh's repeated dream come to pass. But Pharaoh's two dreams have one more meaning: swiftness. Through the two dreams, God intended to convey not only certainty but also urgency. It means you must prepare quickly, you must hurry. Joseph explains this will of God by saying, the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will do it soon. In this way, God is revealed within the dream. By giving the dream, he reveals his plan, and he is the one who carries out the work. God also determines the timing and the pace. The one who presides over all of history is God. Therefore, the purpose of dreams is not for us to see the future. The purpose is for us to see our God. The dream reveals the nature of our God. If we see what will happen in the future but fail to see God, we have missed the true purpose for which God gave the dream. Through the dream, we must see our God. Now Joseph says that they must prepare well for these 2 7-year periods that God has revealed. At this point Joseph faced one more temptation. Let's read verse 33 together. And now let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Amen. Joseph's counsel is to appoint a man. He advises Pharaoh to select a discerning and wise person to prepare for the times ahead. If it were me, I think I would have suggested, let me do the work. Wouldn't I have wanted to say, I will do it, or, if you release me from prison, I am the man for this job? I feel that I might have. But Joseph does not do that. He does not promote himself. He speaks objectively, saying, appoint a wise man. In this crucial moment, he points to God rather than to himself. He is careful not to obscure God by putting himself forward. Verse 34 advises collecting and storing 1/5 of the produce during the years of plenty, and verse 35 advises storing it in each city. Now let's read verse 36 together. This food should be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine. Amen. In short, Joseph's advice is that they must prepare for the time of famine during the time of plenty. True wisdom, as we see in books like Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, is knowing the times. During a time of plenty, most people think that the abundance will continue, that the boom will last forever. But that is not so. If there are good times, there are bound to be difficult times as well. And if you endure the difficult times, a time of prosperity will begin again. What is important is that to endure the difficult times well, you must prepare for them during the good times. This is true for financial matters, but it is just as true for spiritual matters. It is vital to form holy habits like studying the Bible when things are peaceful and without trouble. The same is true for our children. It is important to help them form these holy habits before adolescence. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for them to establish these practices as teenagers. As a church, we must be diligent in passing these habits down to our children. When a problem arises and you try to start preparing then, while you might think it's better late than never, it is in fact already late. A person who is well trained in faith and has well-established spiritual habits during times of peace will not be greatly shaken when difficult times come. Dear beloved saints, God is sovereign over history. The path that God lays out for us is not always smooth. There are times of plenty, but times of poverty and hardship can also approach. So God teaches us the wisdom of preparing for hardship during times of peace. We must believe in the God who directs history and prepare for difficult times through the discipline of godliness. Therefore, I bless you in the name of the Lord, that you may be saints who, by enjoying His grace, live in His peace through times of plenty and times of hardship alike.